Welcome to our posts. Today, we will see stories of r/Pettyrevenge. Bought an alarm to go off whenever someone leaves the baby gate open. I'm cackling right now. My teenager and husband are constantly leaving the baby gates I have installed on the stairs and door to the mudroom open. The dog will then go into the mudroom and eat the cat litter. Or she'll pee on the carpeted landing or go up to our room to get into our trash or the diaper pail. It drives me bananas. Making them clean it up doesn't seem to deter them from constantly forgetting to shut the gates. My teenager maintains that they don't leave the gate open, so I bought one of those window alarms that has a separate magnet and then the main unit. So when you separate them, it alarms that the window is open. You can put these things just about anywhere, such as doors, fridge or freezer, cabinets, etc. You can also set a delay, which is what I did so it isn't alarming just from someone walking through. Currently upstairs with the toddler for a nap and heard the teenager go down the stairs. And 30 seconds later the alarm starts going off. I sent them laughing face emojis and they just said die. I responded with a kissy face and offered to turn it up louder if they'd like me to. But I'm sitting here trying not to wake the baby up from laughing. I didn't tell my husband I bought these alarms, so I can't wait for him to come home and find out about them too. Edit. For those saying the timer should be shorter, I agree, I just don't have another option. There are 3 settings, 0s delay and the alarm plays every 5s, 30s delay and the alarm plays every 20s, or 0s delay and the alarm plays continuously. Other alarms I was looking at had similar options. This is just the one that was cost-effective, came in a 2-pack, and could get here within a day. Husband is home but hasn't gone upstairs or through the mudroom yet. He usually skips the mudroom and comes inside through the sliding doors. It's almost toddler bath time, so I'm sure it'll happen soon. Update: husband did indeed leave the gate open. He made it back over to the stove where he had the loud fans on so he didn't immediately hear the alarm. Everyone else heard it, and I said, "Who left the gate open?" My middle child immediately gave up my husband and said, "He did it." My husband said, "It wasn't me." And she fired back at him that he just came down the stairs and it definitely was him. Then the alarm went off again and he said, "What is that?" And then, "Really, babe?" before rolling his eyes and marching over to fix the gate. Everyone got a pretty good laugh about it. I'll have to give it a trial run and see how well it deters them from leaving it open in the future. Edit: I keep getting comments about training my dog, thanks for the concern, but she only pees in that one spot. It's a muscle memory thing, because we have scrubbed, steamed, painted, and replaced carpet and underlayment, and she will still squat there and only there, nowhere else in the house. As for her getting into diapers and socks and underwear, we've worked with her vet about the possibility of doing medications, but ultimately have been told it's largely a dog thing. Some dogs don't care much for poop and other body odors, and some can't get enough of them. She will only go for the poop diapers, so she seems to be driven by the same urge she gets when she goes after the cat litter. We've been told we can put her on essentially doggy Prozac, or we can just keep those things out of her reach. I don't want to put her on meds if we can help it, so this is our solution right now. If it proves ineffective in the future, or she starts getting into other stuff, we will revisit the behavioral stuff with the vet. Also keep getting told to get a spring-loaded gate. They are spring-loaded. The issue is that all of these auto-close gates also have a feature where being pushed open to 90 degrees causes it to stay open and disable the auto-close until it gets nudged enough to come out of the open setting. Next story. Pass me over for promotion. Everyone gets new appliances. I'm currently benefiting from some petty revenge. Basically, the management company for my apartment complex passed over the woman who'd been here for 25 years for a new guy who doesn't know his butt from his elbow. One of those Neanderthal types with vacant eyes and his mouth always hanging slightly open. So this lovely woman now decides that her precious mission to save the company money is fruitless and will never gain her praise or compensation like she'd hoped. So, suddenly, when I made my 4th complaint about my dishwasher, she just ordered me a new one. AC unit not working well? Let's get you a brand new, more efficient one. One button on your microwave stopped working. Here's a new one. It's great, and I bet they're regretting it now, lol. Next story. I hunted down my credit card thieves. Cross post. Delete if not allowed. Yesterday morning, I received an email notification from my credit card company stating a transaction for winning $500 at a med spa was declined, and another stating it was approved. I immediately called said CC company to report the fraudulent charge. Turns out, my card has had fraudulent charges over the past 3 weeks with purchases including various hotels in my area, eBay, gas station, self-storage, and moving truck rental. I rarely use this card. The last time I used it in person was in February and last online purchase in 2023. Fortunately, my CC company flagged all recent charges and closed my card. This morning, my significant other had a doctor appointment in the same city as a hotel purchase made yesterday. After the doctor, BF asked me what I thought we should do today. I said, well, you wanted to shop for some new shoes. Or we can swing by this hotel up the street and see if the credit card thieves are still there. The amount seemed like it would cover 2 or 3 days, so BF and I go to the hotel to see if the people were still checked in and to let them know the card was stolen and the charges would be reversed. Front desk lady was pissed. She was able to find the reservation by card number and noted that the person had kept changing cards to pay for the room. Of course, they didn't tell me the room number. Much to my BF's dismay, BF was hoping to get a room key to take their stuff, lol, right. I called CC company and they asked me to call the police. I called the sheriff department and they arrived within 20 minutes. I was surprised they even came. I gave them my report, ID, and credit card. The deputy asked if I wanted to prosecute. I said yes. But can I prosecute if my CC company is going to refund all the money anyway? Then they went inside and spoke to the front desk who provided them the invoice. BF and I waited outside in front of the lobby. Then, through the automatic sliding doors, I hear the front desk lady yell, "That's him, he's trying to leave." Light Hispanic dude with a bull terrier and several bags gets placed in cuffs. He gets brought outside, searched, and doggo gets cuffed to a trash can. Then another little Asian guy gets brought out in cuffs. A third deputy arrives and brings out a fancy Asian lady with a face full of fillers, 2 suitcases, and a Coach backpack. 4 officers start going through the backpacks on the hood of their car. We see passports, Idaho S, credit cards. They pull out a big credit card printing machine and a laptop. Then they pull out a big Ziploc filled with crystal meth, and the cop exclaims, "Here we go," and turns towards us to flash a smile. 2 of them go back to search the hotel room and bring down 2 bags with more drugs, a scale, 4 car keys, and a big wad of cash. Unfortunately, none of the cars were in the parking lot, and the perps said they had been traveling by Uber. The cops contacted one of the thief's friends to pick up the dog, who arrived pretty quickly. It was an older Asian dude with tattoos, flashy jewelry in an old luxury SUV. Don't worry, we got his pics and license plates. All these guys seemed like characters out of The Brother's Son. The deputies then gave me all the paperwork and told me that one of the guys said they stole my card off of the internet. I would have guessed that they used a scanner while I was at the fair a few weeks ago. I find that so weird, BC. I haven't used my card online in almost a year. Apparently, they made a physical card that had a different name on it. Anywho, I walk inside to give the front desk a copy of the incident number, and then I remembered something else. I remember seeing another transaction for a storage unit that was made yesterday and 2 charges at a rental truck company. I go back outside and talk to the sheriff and asked him if he wanted me to try to figure out where that was. I was able to track down the storage location to a city about 15 minutes away, but no can do on the trucks. I called the storage place and they confirmed that a payment was made with my card but would not give me the unit number. From there, the sheriff said that it was out of their jurisdiction and they would try to get a search warrant, but that might take a while. However, it might be helpful if I made a police report with the other city. So with nothing better to do, I drove my butt over there and made another police report regarding the storage unit. That's it for now. We'll update if anything else happens. In the meantime, I will call up the credit bureau to freeze my social security. Tell my dog to be on alert and load magazines. Any other suggestions? Also, Copper asked if I wanted to prosecute, but that was before the drug bust. So do I need a lawyer? Thanks in advance. Next story. Neighbor's friend parked in car spot, so I blocked him in and made him apologize. Hopefully this fits here. Used to live in a duplex with a double car park at the end of the driveway. One car spot for each resident. Anyway, neighbor had a friend over and decided they would take the spare spot next to the neighbor's car. I've come home after work to find someone in my car spot, so I did the only logical thing and parked directly behind them, blocking them from being able to reverse out of the tight driveway to go home. Content with my actions, I went inside and told the wife my only hope was that they needed to leave before I did the next morning. Sure enough, about 2 hours later, there was a soft knock at our door, and a very sheepish man tried to explain he didn't realize it was my park and he was very sorry. He asked could I please move my car. I said sure and moved so he could leave. Never saw him again. It was extremely satisfying. I only wish I'd have been outside to see his face when he realized he'd goofed. Next story. Refuse to wait on us until after the deal expires. This is what happens. This is a story from my dad as I was very young when this happened. Once upon a time, many years ago, there was a Friendly's where we would frequently get breakfast. And back in that day, there was a deal available. You could get 2 pancakes, 2 sausages or strips of bacon, and 2 eggs for $2.22, so long as you were there before 11 a.m. So we go with a large party to Friendly's and arrive at the empty restaurant before 11 a.m. And then we wait, and wait, and wait some more. We are not waited on until after 11 o'clock, and so the staff refuses to give us the deal. We end up ordering the same things we'd get with the $2.22 deal. But because we weren't waited on until after the deal had expired, it cost much more. With a group of our size, we ended up with a sizable bill. I'm not sure of the exact amount, but it was over $100. Now, my dad was a waiter. He understands well the importance of tips and almost always tips generously. But not on this day, oh no. On the day of this incident, you know what tip my dad left? $2.22. Next story. I can't leave? None of us can leave. When I was in high school, I wasn't very popular, nor did I have a lot of friends. I was picked on and bullied quite a bit, especially by the people in my grade and classes. I was chubbier back then, and the students in my class had given me the esteemed and clever nickname of Fat Butt, and that's what they called me throughout high school. It sucked, but I never let it get to me. The last time I saw most of them was in the government-required provincial exam, where we were all gathered together in the auditorium to do one final test. This was taken very seriously. Once the test started, we couldn't talk, get up, or look around, all under the supervision of our 3 principals. It was just after the test started when I felt it. This grumbling, gurgling thing was rapidly traveling through my innards, and I knew this was going to be bad. I raised my hand, a principal came by, and I asked to go to the washroom. Before I could even finish, he stopped me and said, "You should have gone before the exam. No one is allowed to leave. You'll have to hold it." This was not something that could be contained. I doubt it was even from this world. It was coming, and it would not be ignored. I discreetly looked around at my classmates who had tortured me for years and knew what had to be done. I leaned forward, lifted my butt off the chair, and unleashed the biggest, loaded fart of my life. Its birth call encompassed the entirety of the auditorium and was immediately met with laughter and jeers from my classmates. The principal sprang into action, attempting to get the situation under control, telling everyone to quiet down and get back to their tests. And then the smell hit. This had the pungent aroma of 7-day-old Texas roadkill, left in the sun and marinated in a finely aged cream, garnished with straight sewage. Everyone started coughing, hacking, making disgusted sounds, and trying to get up. I fondly remember one person saying, "My eyes." Again, the principals told everyone they couldn't leave. "This is a provincial exam. Sit down and finish the test." I was crying with silent laughter while the principals were desperately opening doors and windows. But it didn't help. We sat in that foul funk for 15 minutes before it returned to whatever world it crawled out of. I moved and never saw them again. But I'll always remember the principals gagging while trying to waft the fumes out with an open-close motion with the doors. Next story. Arrogant interviewee. I was recruiting for a pretty senior global functional head role. After tracking what looked like a good candidate down, I set up a video call. He was located in a different country, but was the same nationality as me. After a pleasant enough opening 10 minutes, he started laying down the law. "I expect a significantly larger remuneration package, and I expect your client to pay for me to in full relocate, etc., etc." I decided this wasn't the person that was going to be moving forward for the role, for which I was recruiting, not least because he had done zero research on my client, always a really bad sign. I wanted to show enough professional respect and stuck on the call for another 15 minutes. He took this opportunity to bury himself deeper into my bad books. He then rambled on about having back-to-back video calls all day and that he was glad I was his last call. It was then that I told him, "Look, you seem to be a pretty talented person, but I'm not taking you forward for this role. I have a number of equally well-qualified candidates who are taking this role more seriously, so I can't risk putting you in front of my client when your motivation seems to be focused on remuneration rather than an opportunity with a great company." He was crestfallen. I think he realized that he was cocky and had overplayed his hand and mucked it up. He started backtracking, trying to be a little bit more humble, but I pulled him up with my petty revenge. I said to him, "I can see what you're doing here, and I understand, but it's too late at this point. Sorry. Also, if I'm your last call today, I certainly hope you at least had underpants on for all your previous calls." I went on to tell him that his camera was angled towards a mirror in his hotel room. Although he was wearing a business shirt which covered his backside, when he leant forward you could clearly see he was wearing no underpants or trousers. He quickly apologized and disconnected, then emailed me another very groveling apology days later, which I graciously accepted. That was about a year ago, and I have not heard a thing from him since. I've never shared his name with anyone else. I would never do that. Nevertheless, I suspect he was a damned sight more humble after that call than when he started out. Arrogant twat. Next story. I made my roommate sleep on a bed full of shampoo because he and his friend poured a little bit on my friend's bed. So 2 years ago, I spent a year abroad in a boarding school at England. It was quite an enjoyable experience, except for one small detail. Some of my schoolmates were absolute buttholes which just enjoyed making people suffer for the sake of it. One of them was my roommate, and although he did not try to piss me off directly, he did to one of my friends. This guy was from Hong Kong, therefore his English level was not great. That mixed with the fact that he was a bit weak and skinny made him the ideal target for these kind of people. Once, they took someone's shampoo and poured a little bit over his bed to make the rest of the boarding house think it was cum. It did not work, but the fact that there was an attempt to make him go through that was enough to make us both create a revenge. See, both the bully and I went to drama lessons, and some days after the incident the teacher told us that we had a trip to London to watch The Lion King as part of our drama course. We had also been informed that we would be arriving pretty late 3 a.m. minimum. I saved the date, and just after we left for the trip I said, "I needs to go to the bathroom." I went to his room, took his shampoo and poured it all over his bed and his sheets and his pillows. I left the whole room as messy as I could and left. The next day he had all his pajamas plus uniform filled with shampoo. The head of house opened an investigation to see who was responsible. But I guess he was not very good at it because the first meeting he made started by telling me that I did not need to be there as he certainly knew it was not me. This was supported on the fact that I was supposedly at London, and that I was one of the best students of the school, I ended up having the most school merits by quite a margin. Anyway, the day I left the school to go back to Spain, I opened my phone to write a message on the house group chat. I said, "Remember the shampoo incident?" Someone answered, "Yes, why?" I was the one who did it. Next story. One of my good friend's wedding gifts. So one of my good friends married the worst person. Background: the first time I met her, she came off as very arrogant. My friend invited the new girl he was dating to trivia night at the pub we regular at. She argued every answer the group agreed on. Normally, our group finishes trivia night in the top 3. Theirs was at the time 7 of us, and our combined knowledge pretty much covered all categories. This night was special for us because we were on a 4-week win streak, about to break the old one. The pub had a rule that you broke the streak you tab was covered for the whole night, and 4 was the streak for the last 3 years. My friend and his new GF missed the first 2 of the 3 rounds. We were in first place by only 3 points. How trivia worked at the bar was they had 3 rounds of 30 questions that were displayed on the TV for 1 minute. No cell phone rule. The staff monitored. If they saw a cell phone at the table, they grabbed your sheet and you were out for that round, even if it was off and just sitting at the table. They had really cool prizes every week. Anyhow, my friend and his GF showed up for the last round. As I said, she argued every group decided answer. At the end of that round, we were confident we had every question right. Our mistake was my friend new GF said she'd hand in the sheet. The host, at the end, hands our sheet back, says we'd have won if we didn't change our first answers. We were like, "What?" He hands the sheet back, and a bunch of our answers are crossed out and changed. Everyone at the table looks at my friend's GF. She was like, "I thought I was right, and you guys were wrong on most of the answers, so I changed them." The pub never recovered after COVID and shut down, so the streak was never beat. Year went by, and she only got worse. Anyways, this is a petty revenge story, not my friend terrible wife story, so I'm going to fast forward to their wedding gifts. She controlled everything on the wedding. My friend had to argue that she couldn't choose his groomsmen. She literally told him he can pick his best man. But his 6 groomsmen had to be her 3 brothers, 2 cousins, and a college friend of hers. The only time he stood up to her and said no, if I could choose my groomsmen wedding off. Anyhow, after that drama, and getting the message that I'm a groomsman, I get an email and a voice message from his fiancée. All gift have to be off their wedding registry or a minimum of $300 in cash or gift cards of her selected stores. Most of them were for her dogs, like spas, groomers, or apparently dog hotels. Anyhow, I'm a giant nerd, and 6 months before the wedding I was at a comic book convention. My friend is a big Star Wars fan and Mark Hamill was there, so my wedding gift was a Riddell helmet signed by Mark Hamill. I told the groomsmen what I bought, and it spread like wildfire. Apparently, my friend's side of the family didn't like her, and a lot of mutual friends hated the $300 minimum limit. I missed the gift opening because I was hungover, but I found out when I woke up that more than 50% of the gifts for the wedding were Star Wars memorabilia and collector's items. My friend's wife apparently had a mental breakdown. Unfortunately, they're still married, but my friend has a cool man cave in the basement full of Star Wars memorabilia. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel. Our posts